It's ended. All right, let's watch far-right people infiltrating
the police
military.
have a far-right problem. Across North America and Europe, far-right extremists are actively recruiting both military personnel and law enforcement officers. In Germany, extremist groups have stashed explosives and thousands of rounds of ammunition. In the US, serving soldiers are beginning to fight against the very government they're sworn to serve.
We're in the fucking Capitol, bro!
This is how the far right are using troops with state-of-the-art training and high-grade weaponry to carry out violent attacks and spread their messages.
Our message to the patriots in Virginia is stand up,
Yes!
muster your people together.
King! What a god this man is.
This is Stuart Rhodes, founder of the Oath Keepers, an armed far-right militia known for showing up at protests around the US with heavy weaponry.
The St. Louis County Police were out last night saying that they were unnecessary and inflammatory.
They claim to be entirely made up of both serving and former police and military personnel, and to provide protection for businesses during civil unrest.
We have an outstanding team. Brian Carruthers is a combat engineer veteran. Jose Rivera, he did civil affairs in the Army. We got Ivan, our Army Ranger veteran. Dave is a combat veteran, U.S. Army. Scott, retired cop also. So we got a great crew.
But behind the facade, the Oath Keepers promote a web of conspiracy theories that suggest the government is planning to impose martial law, send them to concentration camps, and install a global totalitarian government.
One thing they fear most is all of us coming together and standing up united.
Bro, I love him so much. Most importantly, because he's the most fucked hairline I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, the real war crime is whatever the fuck's going on top of his head, dude. At a certain point, you gotta cut your losses, homie. Here's an oath you should keep, okay? Shave the goddamn patches on your head. Just saying. The funniest part about this is that he fucked his eye up by with an accidental discharge. He like fired on a gun safety I think training course or something, which that's what we used to do. No, I'm not memeing. I know Dan Crenshaw. No, this is not a fucking Brave Mujahideen moment. He did it to himself.
And refusing to comply. They fear the mass non-compliance. They also fear the U.S. military.
Which is pretty ironic, given they're made up of so many former state employees.
Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco is one of hundreds of law enforcement officials caught on a list of leaked membership records for the Oath Keepers, the far-right extremist group the FBI calls an anti-government militia.
Police lieutenant is under internal investigation.
Some of New York's finest may be linked to the Oath Keepers, a right-wing extremist group.
And there will be a full investigation.
They will talk about things like global governance organizations like the United Nations being a vehicle for tyranny that is orchestrated by some murky cabal of international elite. It's a place driven by this fight between good and evil.
In January, Rhodes was arrested for sedition, relating to the Oath Keepers' key role in last year's Capitol riots. If you look closely at these images, you can observe members of the Oath Keepers in a military formation known as Ranger File. This is a standard military procedure for clearing a building, which would be instantly recognizable to any US soldier. But here, it's being deployed against the US government itself.
D.C. police officer witnessed some rioters using military-style hand signals to communicate.
Small unit tactics used by the U.S. military in urban warfare.
But the Oath Keepers are just a snapshot of a much wider problem. In fact, 1 in 10 of those charged with storming the Capitol was either serving in the military.
I love those guys. They're awesome. Literally just like open up a laser tag facility in their neighborhood and you will eliminate like 90% of these anxieties. abolish divorce court, reinstitute Sharia law, institute Sharia law in America, make it so that like it's impossible for your bitch wife Bertha to leave you and, you know, take the kids. Make it so that like kids forcibly have to text you every day and also agree with the things that you're saying. And like, that's it. These guys no longer have any issues whatsoever.
Or a veteran. And there are similar groups right across the US, such as the 3%ers, another far-right militia known for their large contingent of police and military veterans. Disturbingly, the authorities have been aware of this threat for a long time.
My favorite part about the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers, okay, is that they are libertarian, anti-government militias. Like, I mean, 3%, for example, 3% is all it takes to overtake a government. That's what their idea is, right? Combat ready 3% of the population. That's where that word comes from, 3%ers. And what I find to be hilarious about that, of course, is that they're all literally, they are all fucking cops, like either active duty police or ex-police, ex-cop, or ex-fucking, military. It's so funny, dude. It's like you're literally, you say you're a libertarian, but you're a cop. Like, who are you going to fight against, you dumb fuck? You're going to fight against other cops? You're going to fight against the American government. Like, as a libertarian, who do you think is the violent jackbooted thugs of the American government? Who realizes and also materializes the American government's violent, tyrannical acts and interests? Who enforces them? You fucking piece of shit. You do. Perhaps the best example of
finally found a girlfriend, thanks Has.
Perhaps the greatest example that is like libertarians are simply, they're just conservatives who love smoking weed and think they're any different than like the average normie conservative when they are just the same. Well, maybe some of them are a little different. They also don't care too much for the age of consent laws and want to abolish them.
2006, the FBI had actually recognized this issue. They authored a report about white supremacist infiltration into law enforcement specifically. And they focused on this idea of what they called ghost skins. The basic idea of a ghost skin is people to do, cover up your tattoos, grow your hair out, basically hold the same beliefs, but mobilize in a more secretive fashion. Unfortunately, that FBI report was shelved. And even now, more recently, the FBI have essentially de-emphasized the relevance of the report.
In February 2021, the Pentagon released a report on the issue of white supremacists infiltrating serving military units. But they've so far failed to take meaningful action. This is not an accident. Extremist groups go out of their way to cynically recruit and exploit military and law enforcement personnel, and they know how to do it.
They may be.
It's crazy that these motherfuckers are assaulting the United States military, but instead, like, dude, Americans unironically, you know how like fucking that quote that is misattributed to Steinbeck a lot about how socialism will never come to the United States because the working class do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires. I think that quote is wrong. I think socialism will never come to the United States because all the fucking Americans are too busy reinforcing racism rather than like actually materializing any sort of collective action against their bosses. Okay?
Holy shit, yo,
they literally are just like, nah, dude, I will only organize for racism, okay? I will never organize for anything other than racism. Shut the fuck up. I will ride or die for racism. I will do everything I can. Because it's like, I mean, that's what he's doing. Like, these guys, the ones that are like in Ottomwaffen, unironically are assaulting the U.S. military, okay?
Happened, but fun to think how
that's what they're doing.
Which country would we
Go
most be
fucking
equal
do
then?
that at a workplace, you idiot, and not do it for racism, but like do it for labor union organizing.
It's the magic number.
It's so fucking annoying.
Be having to deal with PTSD and traumas related to if they've been in combat. And just generally, anytime you have to reintegrate into society from another way of life, that's always going to be somewhat difficult. And what the far right, will offer a veteran trying to reintegrate into society is they will valorize their service uncritically, unquestionably. They will see them as someone who possesses certain skills, certain experience, certain expertise, certain knowledge. They will attach status to that. They will see that as valuable.
Salting is when a fucking union organizer, when a labor organizer joins the fucking workforce for an industry that they are not actually interested in, like getting a real job in, with the express purpose of organizing a workplace, okay? It's direct agitational labor organizing. You go in, you work for a union, you go in, you act like you're, interested in working in that workplace, but the real reason why you're there is so that you can organize that workplace. That's what salting is. There's motherfuckers who do that in my community as well. That's why I was saying these guys are doing it for... They're doing it for racism. They're like, yeah, I love the American military. Also, let's just do a little bit more of this like white supremacy stuff, huh?
They will give them the thing that we're all looking for, which is acknowledgement, respect.
And though individual troops and officers may be vulnerable to this type of exploitation, there may well also be something in military and police cultures themselves that leaves them exposed to right-wing infiltration, and crucially, to cover it up when it occurs.
Because these institutions, again, historically, have been very much kind of white, male, heterosexual dominated institutions. It doesn't mean every individual who's white, male, heterosexual in the military or police is a misogynist or a homophobe or a white supremacist, but it does create a certain kind of climate, culture.
This is a target-rich environment
within these institutions that has certain parallels to the far right.
And this is not just an American problem. In July 2019, police in northeast Germany uncovered a huge cache of weapons belonging to Nord Korea.
Wait, what? You mean to tell me that the police force and the military force are a hotbed for far-right radicalization? What? That's so crazy. How could you tell me that one fucking force that is supposed to be the jackbooted thugs of the government, that is supposed to violently suppress poor people, separate them from people with capital, squash labor union organizing, and protect and serve the interests of capital rather than the interests of people. You mean to tell me those guys, those anti-communist, anti-socialist, fascist motherfuckers would be, would be easy to radicalize into recognizing that they're fascists? Or the military, which does that at a global scale? That is crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Stop. You're going to tell me that a guy who's literally brain broken into feeling all right about door knocking, door busting in fucking Afghanistan and like spraying and praying mountainsides, that guy's going to fucking easily become radicalized and becoming a Nazi? No shot. It's not about it being a male dominated environment. It's not about it being a fucking a white male dominated environment. Okay. And it has everything to do with what this fucking job is, what this role is. It's such an easy push in one direction once the American military or the American government has done the fucking brainwashing for you.
Points. An underground extremist far-right network. The stash contained over 50,000 rounds of ammunition, explosives, and body bags, as well as a list of political enemies. So far, only one member of the group has actually been imprisoned, and he only got 21 months for possession of firearms, not for his part in any larger conspiracy. And in January, federal prosecutors dropped a case against other members of the group for plotting a violent attack against the state, citing insufficient evidence.
The decision to drop the case is nothing short of scandalous. They made detailed plans for exactly what they would do, how they would round up political enemies, how they would transport them on a lorry. They had body bags, they had quicklime, they even had a special system of patches they would wear on their uniforms. They could identify other members.
No one really understands why the German authorities are so reluctant to get tough with these guys. If you compare it to the Islamist scene, they would have put them away a long time ago.
Nordkreuz was later discovered to have grown out of a huge nationwide encrypted chat network of far-right sympathizers amongst military and police personnel. This was codenamed the Hannibal Network. Founded by an officer in the KSK, the most elite unit of Germany's special forces.
We have a very small group of soldiers called the KSK. One of the guys who was a soldier for 12 to 13 years, and his codename was Hannibal, started to set up chat groups all over Germany, where he recruited people to prepare for the day X, for the uprising, for the day that right-wing people would take control of the country.
After an investigation, it was decided that the KSK had been so deeply penetrated by far-right extremists that an entire fighting unit within the KSK had to be disbanded. That's the equivalent of the US deciding to dissolve part of the Navy SEALs for having too many Nazis.
Nazis in the Navy SEALs?
I wonder if that would ever happen. Oh, wait. They won't do it, but they have done it, and they should do it. To this day, there are divisions. Well, to this day, look at the scout snipers, for example, in the Marine Corps, and how they end up happening to have the SS logo. I mean, scout sniper, right? I mean, it's just the same. That's why we have the SS logo. I mean, come on, dude. It's just a coincidence that is the. It just happens to look like that.